I think we can start off by introducing ourselves. That's probably a good idea. My name is
Perfect.
Ali. I'm the creative director here at Ambassadors. I'm based in Montreal, Quebec.
So I'm Casey. I'm the creative manager over at Ambassadors. I work right in with the creators on a daily basis.
And my name is Sonia. I am a freelance creative strategist and a UGC creator. I have had the pleasure of working with Ambassadors for probably, honestly, since I got in this space, which has been like a year and a half ago.
Sonia, I mean, you just said it yourself. You are one of the best UGC creators out there, creative strategist. You really, really know what you're doing. I would love to hear how you positioned yourself as a UGC creator in that space and like what qualities you have like really help you propel your career.
I would say maybe like the top 3 characteristics that you have to have in order to be successful in this business is one, discipline. So if you're going to be freelancing, you're not under the orders or directions of other people, like basically a one-woman show. So having the discipline to know like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z at this certain time. I'm going to follow up. I'm going to do whatever it is in order for you to get into your business, whether it's, studying high performing ads, whether it's, seeking inspiration, whatever it may be, discipline is going to be the number one thing that you have to focus on in any kind of freelance position, right? Whether you're a creator or not. So discipline for sure. The next one I would say is effective communication. I think a lot of times because we are all virtual and freelancing, there's no like direct form of communication in terms of like in person. So everything's either done through email or virtually through, virtual calls, especially since the pandemic. A lot of things can, one, fall to the wayside. People will open an email, get distracted, forget that they even opened the email. So you have to do constant follow-ups, but also just like misinterpreting things within text, right? Like text communication, I think is the worst form of communication. Just because you don't understand like how it's being said, or you might interpret it incorrectly. So just being on top of that, and also, with deadlines, being able to communicate like, hey, I might need a little bit more time, or hey, something came up, or, there's been a change in pace, or whatever it may be. Just being able to effectively communicate that, I think, is a very strong characteristic that people will need in this industry. And then lastly is just being open-minded and forever wanting to learn, just because in this industry, there are so many things that are constantly changing, right? What was successful and what worked for a lot of brands 6 months ago is not going to work in 6 weeks. Being open and knowing that like, hey, what you think you was going to perform well for one brand might not perform well for the other. So just constantly knowing and learning the nuances and just industry standards, because especially with like the algorithm, like everything is always changing. So just, forever being a student, I think is another really good quality.
Definitely. No, I completely agree with you on that. And like one thing I would throw in there actually is like, for us, like as an agency, having creators that are confident to create content across different niches is so valuable. So creators that like step outside of their comfort zones, and maybe they have a background in beauty, but now they want to try tech, or they want to try lifestyle or finance. That is incredible. Casey, like what about you? Like in terms of like communicating and like working with creators so much on a daily basis, is there anything that kind of stands out for you in terms of creators and like what's valuable?
Firstly, organization. So in all aspects of life, I do think that organization is the key to success. And you can really tell when you're working with a creator who really takes pride in keeping what I would assume most of these creators are under is so many different campaigns at once. So to be able to organize that and know what's at which stage and when, that is a huge thing that is needed in this space. Along with that, fueled by the organization comes communication, which like Sonia touched on is so important in this space because everything is virtual. It's essentially a world of deadlines, whether you're working as a creator or you're working as somebody dealing with creators from the agency side of things. It's a constant need for great communication and to know exactly where everything is all at once. There's always a ton going on, but just being able to be focused and get things done.
Also add grit, I think, is another one, because I think a lot of people come into this space thinking like, oh, once I start, it's going to be like skipping through the meadow and like, or I'm going to be super successful at this. But with any business, there's going to be ebbs and flows. So understanding, like, you will have your high moments where you're like, oh man, this is a really good month. But then you'll have some months that are like super slow compared to others. And you start to question your capabilities and your worth as a creator, because it's just like, well, summertime is typically slower. So maybe June and July, you might have slower months, but then you're just like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Or what's happening? Or maybe I'm not cut out for this. But then as soon as fourth quarter comes, it's another
fourth
story.
Quarter.
So I think being able to have that grit and be able to ride the highs and the lows in the business too will absolutely make or break a creator.
Yeah, come fourth quarter, I completely agree with you. I think everyone is running around like wishing they had enjoyed June, July, August, like slower months a little bit more.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think we're all gonna get into that pretty soon. So
yeah, we're already in it.
Yeah, no, starting to transition. On that note, Sonia, I think it would be super interesting if you could kind of walk us through like what a UGC campaign is like for you. Like, obviously, you know, for brands, they always kind of know their side of it, like when they can expect assets and when they can review concepts. But I think it would be really interesting for us to go over what actually happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it varies per agency, per brand, and depending if, you know, they're reaching out to me for like on behalf of the actual brand or if it's an agency. But everyone's timeline is different. But typically what happens is, say for instance, I'll speak directly with working with you guys. You know, you'll reach out to me, ask me if I'm interested in a specific campaign. I'll do my due diligence, look at the product and, you know, look at the website initially just to see if one, like I would enjoy working with this product, because I tend to say no to a lot of things that don't align with me or for whatever reason just wouldn't make sense or I wouldn't find joy in it, right? So the whole creative process for me is that it's supposed to be creative. So if I'm working with a brand where I'm just like, why am I even doing this? Like, this is not fun. I would never even use this product in the first place. It sucks the creative process and the joy out of it. So I will look at it initially, see if I want to determine if I want to actually work with that brand. And when I do, and then I will either receive the content brief or the like the brand guidelines, or I'll send out my questionnaire to receive the information of everything I know. We'll sign all the, you know, pertinent information in terms of contract, decide on deliverables. So once all the admin stuff is done, in terms of the actual creative process, I do my creative research, my creative analysis. So I will scour the websites, I will scour reviews, I will look at all their social medias, and I do a lot of the research in the reviews. The reviews are like those golden nuggets where you can literally pick and choose like the words that are, you know, often used within your target audience. If they say love a lot, if they love this product, or do they like the product? So you use the words that they are using, so you're speaking the same language. So I'll do all my creative analysis, and then I like to do a lot of like competitive analysis as well. So depending on who their creative, like the competitors are, look at what they're doing, looking at what's successful for them. Oftentimes you guys will specifically share inspiration or videos that have performed well in the past to give me an idea of like what the style of the video should be in terms of, you know, the product angle, the product description, I typically talk the same when I do an ad, but just in terms of, you know, the pace and the tone of the actual brand. So I'll go through all the inspiration videos, and then I sit in the flow state. And that flow state is where I'm able to like actually conceptualize and script out everything that I'm going to do. I kind of have like my 10 go-to styles of UGC, you know, whether it's like your typical testimonial problem solution, if it's a TikTok response kind of a hook, or if it's a green screen, or if it's like a listicle, 3 reasons why, 5 reasons why. What's another? Us versus them. Those are like your standard ones that typically perform very well with brands. So usually I will gravitate to one of those kinds of formats and then plug and chug with the information that I gathered throughout my creative analysis. And then I always send off my concepts to the brand or agency for their approval, because that minimizes any kind of revisions that I have to do in the event that they don't like what is brought to vision. It's like, hey, like I painted it very clearly for you, because I am very like detailed with my concepts and scripts. I have like what the actual module is, so the hook, benefit, problem solution, desired results, the CTA, and then the shot type, if it's going to be green screen, camera facing, B-roll, the audio type, if it's going to be me speaking directly to the camera, if it's going to be a voiceover, if it's going to be only text overlay. Then I have a visual column so you can visually see what I'm thinking of, and then the actual script as well, so you know exactly what I'm saying. And if that's a collaborative effort with either the brand or agency, so they're allowed to edit, make comments, whatever they think, because obviously they know their brand a lot better than I would. So in the event that they say, hey, you should include X, Y, and Z, we can do that. And then I go into the filming process. So the filming process, it revolves around my wash day, because I got to be presentable on camera. So I have specific days where I actually film during the week. And I also have like specific days where I actually do my creative strategy, so I can like sit down and like actually focus on writing out the scripts and stuff. So during the filming days, I try to batch like film a lot of my stuff, just because I don't wear a lot of makeup, but like the makeup I do wear, I don't want to put it on every day. So it's like, if I'm going to film multiple videos, it's going to be all in the same day. So I'm going to try to, batch all out of my work. And then I also have a VA that helps me with my edits. So sometimes it'll be a collaborative effort where depending on my workload, I'm editing some of the videos or she's editing some of my videos. And then once those are done, we can go ahead and ship out those deliverables.
It's so funny that you mentioned the makeup thing. Actually, Casey and I were filming videos a while back for our company LinkedIn. We were both having a conversation about it, like, oh my God, I have to put on makeup. Like, what do you mean?
It's a lot of work.
It's a whole ordeal. Like, actually, like, sitting down to film the videos is okay, but it's like actually also like getting yourself prepared. Like, your hair has to look good, you have to look good, you have to feel good. It's a whole thing. So actually having a schedule like that, where it's kind of broken into, okay, so this is my strategy day, this is when I wash my hair, this is when I'm filming, totally makes sense.
And then you also have to take in consideration the weather too. Yes. So like, if there are certain shots that require direct sunlight, and like right now it's a cloudy, dreary day here in Chicago. So, and earlier this morning it was like dark and like thunderstorming. So it's like, there was no way I would be able to film in those conditions, because like my lighting would be terrible. So the weather, like, not a lot of people think of this, but the weather can like definitely delay some of the deliverables that I have to have in their due dates.
I have to ask you are just so knowledgeable about all of this. What got you into UGC? Like, where'd you hear about it? How'd you start doing it?
So I'm a personal trainer as well. I only do that part-time now, but before UGC, I was running my own business. So I was doing all of my advertising, creating content for my particular business. So like, I knew how to create content in terms of like how to get clients to sign up for my services, which is basically what I'm doing for other brands now, either having them sign up for their services or their products. So I have that background of creating content. I have that background of being an entrepreneur, but what made me shift gears and go straight into this for brands, I remember seeing on TikTok, JT Barnett, if you guys are familiar with him, but he started talking about it. He was just like, there is a market in here, in this industry, where you can create content for for brands. I've been in that space where it is influencer marketing, but I'm like, hey, if I can do this for other brands and like kind of be behind the scene too, like this could take my love for the creativity part of it, like actually creating content, and then just working with brands that align with what I align with as well. So like, I thrive with health, wellness, nutrition, fitness, self-care brands, just because my own personal brand, that's what I speak on. Those are the brands I naturally gravitate towards. And a lot of those brands in the health and wellness space are all about improving yourself, getting healthier, living a better and a more improved, healthier life. So it's like, if I can amplify the voices of those kind of brands who are on the same mission as me, why not? JT was probably the first person that I heard about like having an actual business through it. So then since then, I did the typical steps of like starting my portfolio. I used to have a personal training website, but I kept my domain and just switched out the whole entire website from personal training to my portfolio for UGC. And then I got on Twitter, and I think the timing of it was really in my favor too, because I got in at the very end of February of 2022 when it was still kind of undercover. Not a lot of people, because TikTok made it like this viral thing. So the timing of it, like I was able to really get it in a good time. And then again, with my entrepreneur skills, my content creating skills, and then just learning as I was going with just basic psychology, the behavioral psychology behind it. Because it's not just like picking up your phone and creating content. Like there's a lot of understanding in terms of like emotional motivators, because nobody buys the actual product for the product. They're buying it because they want to feel or think or be seen in a certain type of a way. So like if you can get the psychology behind it and then include that in your creatives, and then I was just posting what I was learning and what I was doing on Twitter, that is what has allowed me to like thrive in this space.
Wow. Definitely, I think you got in at a great time, because I was thinking about or talking with someone about this the other day. UGC has it's exploded in terms of like the people and like trying to be creators, and like it's amazing. There's space for everyone, but it's like, yeah, TikTok has really pushed that far for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Another thing I wanted to touch on today was talking about like mashups and iterations. Taking a video and essentially making 5 to 10 other videos out of that. I think it is so powerful and something that a lot of brands haven't uncovered yet, and is something that people are starting to do. So Casey, I mean, I would love to talk to you a tiny bit about that. How, you know, when you get an asset working in our agency, when you get an asset and going to post-production with that, what happens? What do you do with the editors?
So this really starts off at the creator stage. When we're first reaching out and sending those initial briefs over, we require, as Sonia knows, quite a bit of bonus footage when we have our video creators submit things. So we require different hook variations. We try to shoot for like 5 from each creator, and a ton of B-roll, just like really good B-roll of you behind the scenes filming the product or the app that you're using. There's such a power into having all the extra footage, because when it comes to taking it to post-production, we can then split it into many different things. So we can take one video with those extra assets of variations of hooks and B-roll and switch out what you're seeing visually throughout the video, or swapping out that hook, which is really the most powerful part of a video, the scroll stopping. We try to provide like 5 of them so that we know here's 5 different videos right off the bat that we could make from this one singular asset. When you know that that is what you're going to want to do ahead of time, you can ask the creators so they know ahead of time as well what the expectation is. And we've taken a small amount of videos and divided them out into tons of great content. And it's all just from asking for those simple things at the beginning of the process.
Honestly, has been, I feel, so beneficial for our creators as well as brands. And on the creator side, it has been an amazing tool because there's less revisions. You know, I think Sonia, you can kind of speak to this. When a brand comes back and is nitpicking on, we want the B-roll changed here, you know, really trying to perfect that asset when there's not really any rhyme or reason can get very frustrating and time consuming. And so being able to create those iterations and diversify the content, allowing them to test as much as they need to, really allows everyone a lot of benefit. Sonia, I don't know if you have any experience like with iterations and mashups and stuff. How does, if you do, how does that benefit you as a creator directly? Like, does it help with inspiration? Does it help your process? Like, what sort of experience do you have with those from your point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a brand's sake, it is always beneficial to get either like the raw footage or additional footage where you can slice it up into mashups, because mashups in general tend to perform a lot better than just having one creator in the video. So I don't know what it is, if it's, you know, the mashup of seeing different creators or different people in the asset, or what it is, or just like more social proof, I guess. But in terms of me, I think some of the brands and agencies I do work with, they will give me a brief and it is strictly just the raw footage, right? Like I don't have to do any kind of editing at all. They do all the edits in the in-house. And I think 1, it's less work on my end because I don't have to worry about editing. But 2, like I think there's this underlying fear that a lot of creators have, like, oh, if I give them raw footage, they can use it exponentially and then, you know, use it over and over again, and they won't need me anymore. Which is not the case at all, because I have long-term relationships with or partnerships with brands who on like a monthly basis will send me a script. I read the script, they do the editing together. In hindsight, an ad usually has a shelf life of a week, maybe 2 weeks, unless it performs really, really well. You can get, I have an ad that's running now for like 132 days, which is crazy to me. They're still putting money behind it and it's still performing really, really well. I even think Lumen probably with the whitelisting, they milked it for what it was worth. Yeah, they can take that raw footage and use it, but like if you're speaking directly, you can only do so much with that camera facing clips. B-roll footage, yeah, you can get a lot more use out of it, but I think if you are thinking of it in the long run and you want to build actual relationships with the people you're working with and not thinking of it as a one-off job, like it is actually very advantageous to be able to provide that kind of raw footage, get compensated for it for sure. If it is just strictly you doing like a script read. But I think it is advantageous on both ends, especially for the brands, because you, as a brand, you have to test multiple. So if you're only going to sit here and pay XYZ for just one ad asset, you're doing yourself and your company a disservice. Like you're just actually wasting money.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Like finding that winning creative is a numbers game. If you're getting 4 videos versus 100 videos, you have such greater chance of finding that winning creative in the 100 videos versus the 4. I mean, we can all do that math regarding, creators getting scared of brands just running with this content, never asking them again. Yeah. Totally not the case. As you said, ad fatigue hits so hard, so fast for many different assets. And then everyone wants to test new things, right? Like we get new ideas, or there's a new product that comes out, or, all this. And there's really only so many ways you can slice up a video. Now, changing out the hook, you can do that lots if you have various footage, but, whole other discussion for sure. I would love to talk about the Lumen ad, actually, if you can kind of walk us through that a little bit. I'd love to go over that. That was a winner. So like that was an example of a time that a brand found a winner and it has worked for them. I think I even saw it recently. Like it's still going.
It's still going,
yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's funny because the particular assets that I did for them were skit based. And I always, anytime I think of doing a skit, it kind of gives me the ick. I'm like, I don't want to do a skit. It's so cringy. But I think certain products, especially with Lumen, it is a health, for those who aren't familiar with Lumen, it's a device that you blow into and it gives you a reading in the morning in terms of like where your macros should be for the day. So a lot of people who are with the goal of trying to have some type of fat loss or weight loss will benefit using this product. So one, it's in a niche that I absolutely love. I love talking, like I have clients about nutrition. So nutrition is something that I am very knowledgeable in. So for me to be able to do this kind of script and talk about those emotional motivators, I had mentioned that earlier. So people who are wanting to accomplish something, they want to feel good about reaching a goal. They also want that acceptance within themselves. They want to feel good in their body. So like touching base on those psychologies, but then also talking about the myths, right? Because there's a lot of myths that come with nutrition. And a lot of people are like, oh, you can't have carbs, or you can't eat this, or you can't eat that. And I made sure to touch on all of those aspects within that video. Talking about the myths, saying like you don't have to give up carbs, or you can still eat the foods you love and still reach your goals. And I think having it in that skit kind of a format gave it that entertaining factor as well, rather than it just being like a how-to video or a testimonial about, oh, I use this product and this is how I got my results. So I think having that dynamic of, being entertaining in that skit form, but then also being able to have those touch points on those emotional motivators and then talking about the myths, I think the combination of all that allowed it to be a very, very successful ad.
I couldn't agree more. Totally makes sense. I remember like when we were thinking about that script as well, I remember even reading it, and it's funny that you say it was cringe, because I was like, if anyone's going to be able to pull this off, it's Sonia. I have 100% faith in her, because it could have gone one of two ways. It could have looked very scripted and a little bit cringe, but the way you pulled it off, it was so natural. It was so authentic, very informative. You did an absolutely amazing job on it.
Thank you.
And Casey, we also did the one with Brass, if you wanted to touch on that really quick.
Yeah, Brass did really well, and I think it was for 3 specific reasons, which can be true across all UGC content. But to start off, the videos were on season. So if you can hone in on something that's very relevant at the time. So for this, it was fall, and we could show that in the assets. So it worked out really well. The other thing it did was show a strong before and after. So whenever I'm talking to creators, when I'm working with them to figure out, how we're going to make these ads look at the end, I always preach show, don't tell, because there is such a power in showing rather than just saying, I love this and it's really great, and you're just holding it, showing it. When you can visually show that on screen, it's just a way more powerful thing. And the last thing was it showed all the different possibilities that you could do within the app. So taking something and not just showing like, this is one great thing you can do here, but really taking the time to fit in a bunch of different things in one video that really shows the product inside and out.
No, I couldn't agree more. And what you said about being seasonal, I think is such a key thing, especially like even like when you're talking about more like e-commerce brands and stuff. If they have certain products that lean into like a really specific time of year, be it summer or like a holiday, specifically Christmas or whatever, that's so beneficial to like really get in on that. And like before it happens, I think we launched those videos in late August, early September, like this of last year, and it was right on time. It hit really, really well. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, plus people love the fall for whatever reason. Yeah. People love it.
Yeah, girls love fall, so I think that really worked out. And what I wanted to touch on really, really quickly as well is another video that we did for Under Outfit a while ago. This was a top performer. It was a case study we did with Meta, and it was so amazing. So this actually goes back to the iterations that we were speaking about earlier. We had done these videos with a creator named Logan, who is also absolutely phenomenal. And the videos that she produced initially were okay, but we could definitely do better in terms of ad performance. And like the assets themselves look great. They were beautiful, but we could definitely kind of oomph it up a little bit. And so we took a clip that was controversial and we put it at the beginning of the video. And it's a video where she's standing there and she says, I'm a 34 triple D. And everyone watched that video. It's for bras, obviously. And everyone watched this video and was like, oh my gosh, no way, no, you're not. Like all the comments, right? So that was just something that the comments made the video blow up. And it was something super interesting that we learned to actually this controversial hook is such a high performer across many different niches. Obviously, you have to be careful not to take it too far, but just doing something that gets people to comment and engage is really, really interesting. Casey and I were speaking about it the other day. Actually, we've seen people do on purpose spelling mistakes in some of their assets as well, just to like get people to comment like, what do you mean? Like correcting them? Yeah, it's a funny trick. Okay, well, I think that kind of covers everything that we wanted to go over today. Thank you both so much for joining us. I think that this was really beneficial. We went over a lot of really valuable information today. And yeah, we'll definitely do another one of these soon.
Yay, thank you for having me.